But when they did it, I was like, I don't really want middle school. Oh, it's Trudell, yes, they do.
And you're so sweet.
I'm like,
I could make it through everything. So it's so much. I'm wondering if we should just go for it. If you guys have colleagues that need a packet, that you need to take them to, please.
Right.
And if people come in late, tell them to take one of those.
Let me introduce you to my whole tree park.
No, you're totally fine. I'm just saying.
Anyway, I'll let you get to it.
Awesome.
It looks like a few more are wandering this way.
Sorry, we got chatting right in your
Oh,
doorway.
you're totally fine. I did the same thing to the last person. You're totally good. While you wait, actually, maybe we should go to this slide and then I'll back up. You don't want the slides yet. This QR, oh man, where's our friend? Try that. See if the QR code will work. Of course, my picture would land right on there. I wonder if we're recording. Hopefully, you're able to.
Yeah, it did.
See that? Okay, sweet. If not, you have a card in your bag.
Still use it.
Okay. So you'll want to create a teacher account. Everything I'm going to share today is free and accessible on this website from Take Charge Today. So I'm not officially starting yet, but if you want to start making your account, that might be handy to have once you get home, right? I'm going to check one more time and see if anybody's coming. Oh, this is like slow.
Yeah.
For a wanderer, this is tough. There's like 5 people moseying, but I don't know if it's here. And that's annoying. Nobody get a migraine from that, okay?
I already have
Is
one.
it
but
because
not-
I'm moving? Can you guys hear me? Do I need that microphone?
Well, the microphone's hooked up to
Okay.
the camera only.
Okay. This is not how I go. It works? Sweet. Welcome. Okay, we'll start rolling. Did everybody get a packet? Who needs a packet? Looks like I get rid of 3 more. And if you have a colleague that you feel like you want to take one for, you're welcome to take them on your way out, or get up and get them now if you want. It's totally fine. This is going to be totally casual, but so exciting because there's so much to share. Let me back way up on my slides. My remote isn't responding, so we'll do it this way. So my name is Trical Daly, and I'm right by that camera. Trical Daly from Take Charge Today is the hat I'm wearing today. I'm just a Utah teacher like you guys are. I've done this for a long time. Back in the days of being a pilot teacher, when financial literacy was very first required, and during the invention, and before it was required actually, and during the years working with state office, maybe some of you have been in my methods class, the methods of teaching. I recognize some faces and nodding heads of methods of teaching financial literacy that I'm able to teach for USBE, which is super fun. And sorry about the twitching of the slides. We're just going to leave it. It's the end of the day, and we're just going to do the best we can. Anyway, I love financial literacy. I love hands-on learning. I love teachers, and I love to support teachers. And that's really, I mean, I love my students. I do. But teachers are kind of my jam because I know that feeling of, especially those starting out, thinking, oh, I've got to do all this work by myself, and it's just not the world we live in anymore. There's so much that's created. Back in the day, when I did training for USBE right at the beginning, we would give out 4-inch binders, and I felt like I was Oprah, like just giving all the free things that I've had collected that would work in class, and if I could get my hands on a DVD that I could give a teacher, it was like gold. And now, it's kind of reversed. Like now there's just so much, it's kind of hard to sift through all the resources that are free and all the great tools that you have at your disposal for your students. But anyway, that's kind of a little bit of my background. With my time at Take Charge Today, they asked me to do this because I love the material and I want to share it with teachers and it will lighten your load. So that's basically why I'm here. I want to tell you just an overview of what Take Charge Today is. It is your best friend, your lifesaver, and a great place to start. Really quick, how many of you have taught financial literacy before or are currently teaching? Okay, anybody brand new to teaching financial literacy? And don't be bashful, it's totally fine. So we don't have any newbies. Are we all high school? Anybody high school? Okay. And we have just a couple high school. Okay. The cool thing about this is it's a great wheel turner to give you ideas to say, how can I tweak it and make it work for my classroom? So whether you're high school or middle school, it just doesn't matter. Everything I'm going to share today is adaptable and you can make it work in your classroom, I believe. So everything we have on the website, again, is free, which is the greatest piece. It's ready to implement and ready to go. There's ongoing professional development. They do webinars all the time. So if you kind of keep your eye on that part of the website, you can see what's happening. You just sign up and log in. And they have great trainers. Sometimes I'll do online, but experienced teachers who have actually walked the walk that you're walking. There's a lot of hands-on activities, which I love. We live in a very digital world. I live in a digital world, but for students to learn with their hands, sometimes just by having fun, they just think they're having fun and they don't even know they're learning. And that's the great experience that you can provide for them. And that to me is a game changer. Everything's created by teachers and kind of tried and true. They revamp things and update things all the time. So if you have a favorite resource that you're like, oh, this is getting kind of old, send us an email and I'll put that on the list to update more currently or quickly, I guess. So again, everything is just ready to go. These introductory pages, what will happen is as you create your account, you'll go to kind of a table of contents with any topic that you can even dream of. So there's the standard, savings, banking, all of those kinds of things. You'll click on that and you will have the whole world at your fingertips. There's PowerPoints, worksheets, assessments. Everything has answer keys, everything like that. So your account is a teacher account. It's not something that students log into. So you will find like, oh, I love this PowerPoint. This is so great. You download it as a PowerPoint. And my favorite part is that you can edit everything. So if it's like, I don't like that slide, or that's an ugly graphic, or whatever it might be, you can then own it and make it be how you want it to be for your students' needs. So everything's there, ready to go by topic. Another section that you'll find, there's a section on movies. Like it has a whole list of movies, a whole list of books, a whole list of songs, things that you can implement into your classroom that just lighten the vibe. There's no better way to say it. If you have music going when your students come in, it's a different day, I promise. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say on that, but so much is ready to go. The active learning tools is a section that you can just search for or find on that main page. The activities and things that are available, again, are so fun. What would happen if something like this is sitting on your desk when your students come in? They're going to start with what are we doing today? What are we doing today? Which is going to make you crazy, right? But it changes, again, just the vibe and the feeling of, oh, we're going to learn in a fun way today. So again, there's the active learning tools, the service learning connections, lots of technology integrations. There's escape rooms, visual aids, simulations. Has anybody used this Perez family case study? It's fabulous. I love it. Yeah, I use that for my concurrent enrollment kids because I can grade like 3 things out of the 80 that they're doing and have a very good feeling of where they're at and what I need to reteach. Online games, just so many options here. So happy summer. Once you get in here, you'll be like, okay, yes, this is what I'll do with my spare time. One thing I think that's pretty universal is what we're trying to accomplish is helping our students learn, but not just sit in their seats or sit on a device, helping them work with others, having some social interactions, having them engage with the information, and obviously learn, right? So those are the desired outcomes of what we're trying to accomplish with this curriculum and the content that we're sharing with teachers. So that's what I want to share with you today. And I want to walk you through just a few examples of things that we have, just so you can kind of get a feel of what's available on the website before you dig in and see what's there. So hopefully you've created an account. If not, you can scan the QR code and access that. Again, it's just for teachers. It's not something you share with students. This is where you can search for active learning tools, and the banner kind of rotates and gives you different options there on that home page. What I want to share today, again, I want to walk you through just a couple of lessons. I've given you that little Ziploc bag of things. They're like, really, you want me to print stuff? I'm like, yes, I want them to see some of the things that are actually there that are printable, or you can just have them online if you want. Like I mentioned, you can download things and print them, or you can download them and share them in your LMS or anything like that. So if you have a Canvas course, you can just put things from Take Charge Today in there. So we're going to, it doesn't matter the name of the activities, we'll get to them eventually. We're going to start with in your packet of the stapled pack that looks like this, minus the sticky. Okay, so I think I forgot to say that we're from the University of Arizona. That's kind of important. So keep that in mind. That's where it's all housed and generated from. So this is just kind of a general information sheet of what comes with every lesson. If you want to turn, I'm going to try and keep us on pace so we're not behind. So if you turn that main page and then the next page and look on the back of it, so the back of page 2, it says bonus basket vocabulary activity. So I just wanted to point out really quickly an example of what something might look like that you could say, oh, I could use that. Now keep in mind there's pages and pages and pages, but what if you want to use this activity in savings or something? You're great, right? I love to hang out at the Dollar Tree for teaching. So these at Easter time, you can get these kind of baskets. So this activity lists consumer products and services about values, needs, and wants provided below. So this unit that we're looking at is on values, wants, and needs, right? So half sheets of paper, optional, right? This is saying give them a piece of paper, they can wad it up. If they answer the right question, then they try and make a basket. So I happen to have in my stash things like this, right? They could use a wiffle ball to do this activity. They could have these snowball kind of things. But just that, engaging with the content. So I didn't do a very good job of summarizing this. So yeah, I guess basically they just divide participants into 2 teams, provide each participant with 1/2 a sheet of paper or a snowball or a wiffle ball, whatever it is. If they answer the question right, great, but to get a point, they have to make the basket, okay? Or you can change it however you want. If you want to give them the point for getting the question right and then another point for the basket, whatever. But again, they're out of their seat, they're moving, they're learning and engaging with the content. So I just wanted to say that little tiny piece right there, you can do that for all your classes, no matter the content, all day long, you know, and change it up. So super easy. The next one, let's see. So that QR code, just so you know, goes to this lesson if you want it on your phone or something for some reason. This is just an example of, oh, I thought it was going away forever, of what you might find in a lesson. So the information sheets, those are so helpful. They go right along with the PowerPoints. And if you have a student who's absent one day, you say, here's the link to the PowerPoint, here's your information sheet, and it's like a guided reader. There's some that are filled in, and there's some that are just the information. So rather than saying, here, sit by me and I'll give you a quick lecture on what we talked about yesterday, it's a really helpful tool. And you can use it to guide your own lectures and what you're sharing with teachers. That was a fun way. So there's PowerPoint presentation, there's the things that have an answer key, and then the workbook pages. You can download the whole thing at once, right here in a zipped folder, or you can just choose one of them. So that's kind of the format of what it looks like on the website. This is kind of what's in your packet. I think we'll come back to Lizzie if we have time. I don't want to miss out on some of this. So again, thinking of wants and needs and values. I just chose that because we're all like, that's super, super basic. We pretend that we've talked about it, right? So what's a want?
Something you don't need that makes life better.
Right, it's just kind of an extra. What's a need?
Clothing, water, you have to have it to survive.
It sustains life, right? And what's a value?
A belief or practice that you know, is important.
Super, super, perfect. So that's the basic concept. You would be surprised if you haven't taught those principles to your students, you would be surprised how complicated it can be to help them identify their values, right? The fact that our values can change through our life. There's a season of my life I really, really felt diapers were important. Right now, not so much. I don't care. I'm not spending my money on diapers, you know, things like that. The things that are important to us are very important to us, but they might not always be. You know, a big boombox speaker thing in your car might just float their boat right now, but in 10 years, it might not be important to them. So to practice this, let's go out in the hall real quick, and we'll do a little activity that you can do, again, with any content, and it's super fun. And I need 2 volunteers. Well, actually, let's just get into 2 teams. I'll show you. We'll come down here. So let's line up into 2 teams right here. So easy with just not very many of us, right? And we can take turns. And I left my paper in there. Okay, so you guys will be our first ones. I'm going to go grab my paper. Sorry, I'm kind of a challenge for your video. Okay, so this might be self-explanatory. You might have figured out what we're doing already, but you'll have two teams, right? I'm going to say something, probably a noun. Are they all nouns, maybe? And you're going to determine, is it a want, a need, or a value? And you're going to approach abruptly but kindly with your fly swatter and hit the right answer, right? So you can see how this might get a little bit rowdy. So you have to implement whatever rules your people need, right? Okay, so let's start with freedom. Good. So you can kind of see, it's easy to see. So the ones I have in there are different colors, and it's easy to see red on top of blue or whatever. Anyway, you can kind of get the idea. So hand it to the next person, and we'll keep going. Somebody keep score if you want to, if anybody cares. Blanket. Good. But is it always a need?
Minky. It depends.
Okay, a minky. Perfect, perfect. So you can see you can either have a discussion as you go along or save it and go back through it, once everybody's in the classroom. But what if it's 90 degrees outside? I don't even want it, right? Let alone need it. So it's kind of fun to talk about that. How about soap? Soap is optional.
I know, it's not like,
Here's a total TMI story. We went to Vegas last week, and both my husband and I forgot our deodorant. It's like, no, that is definitely a need. Like, we're in Vegas, going to the store. Okay. How about a bus ticket or a car? Need. Okay, so in what context is it a need?
To get you from A to B, but what kind of car? How
Exactly.
expensive is it?
Right. Which the next one, don't do it. I'll just skip this one. But a Tesla. Do I have to have a Tesla? Versus,
My husband did.
in what context would it be
Bought his
a...
frickin' Tesla and lost his job the next week.
Oh,
So now I'm paying for a Tesla.
oh, I'm sorry. See, that's a good story to share. Yeah.
But it is true. I mean, I've been joking with my students for 2 years.
Yeah.
Does he need a Tesla? Does he need a Tesla? He buys the
Oh my gosh. Wow.
the precursor to losing
That's
the job.
powerful. Because really, this was the mantra that I heard growing up. All you need is transportation, right? Whether it's a bike or your legs or whatever it is, you just need to get there. Do you even need a car? Not always, right? Something to think about. Okay, pizza.
my sunglasses not come in close.
Depends on the day, right? Depends on the day.
I'm 0 for 1.
Okay, a home or apartment? Need, okay, good. But again, depending where you live in this world, that looks really, really different, right? How about good health? See, I think that's a good one to talk about, right? We need it to do all the other things. We want it because it feels good, but also it's an important value. So I think those are fun things to talk about. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Yeah. Okay, these were from Dollar Tree also, but a while ago. But I would check Amazon. It's been a minute.
I'm going the wrong days.
It's been a minute since I got these. So I love that. I think that's fun. Another way you can use that is just with vocabulary. Somebody at my table today was like, I struggle with teaching vocabulary. And it's like, this would be a great way to just put the words on the wall. You say a definition and they have to hit the right word. I've done it like with statistics of like how many people, out of 10 are in this financial situation, and they have to kind of guess. And anyway, lots and lots of different ways you can use that. And once your things are made, just keep them in your folder and you're good to go forever after. So that's a really fun one. Can you guys think of any other ways that you might use that in your classrooms with your students?
Test review.
Perfect. Yeah, great idea. You could even have like A, B, C, and D, read a multiple choice right from the test probably, and have them try and answer that way. That'd be fun. Yeah, any other thoughts?
You could do it as an attention getter and have them guess before you start the actual material.
Oh,
Like,
good.
which is,
Yeah,
and have them.
kind of anticipatory. Yeah, kind of like this was like just out of the blue, like, okay, we're throwing balls around. But yeah, when they don't know, and then you could wrap it up by saying, okay, who hit this one at the beginning of class, and was that right or wrong? Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Okay, and there's just a picture of people doing what you did. And the same questions. Okay, so have you ever, here's again an anticipatory question from a different lesson. So we're moving on to pay yourself first lesson, okay? We're skipping really quick through some of this. Is there a time when you wish you would have known what would have happened tomorrow? Sometimes I wish I never knew what was going to happen tomorrow. But for example, like for what Tracy shared with us.
The Tesla, but
Yeah.
see, my youngest daughter has no T cells. And one day her medical bills were $1.2 million. That was one day.
Wow.
And did that affect the rest of my life? Yeah. She's almost 21 and I'm still dealing with that. And had I known, I would have made my husband get a better job, had better insurance, or we would have done, I would have kept teaching instead of taking some time off to be a mom. And so there's a lot of things that if I could go back in time, if I had 20/20 vision, you know.
So good. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry. That's a tough topic. But I think even on a smaller, big and small level, there's things even in their lives, like a flat tire. So this is an example of a PowerPoint from, I never know where to stand, from a PowerPoint on the website that kind of helps them start thinking about paying themselves first. When I think of I think in general, when people think of paying themselves first, it's like an emergency fund. I like to think of it as a someday fund, it doesn't have to be for, the hard things, but if we're paying ourselves first and collecting and being smart with our money, then of course these kind of emergencies aren't the end of the world. Some could still feel like it, I'm sure. But also, if we don't have to use it for that, then we have a plan for, retirement or fun things as well, as long as our, needs are taken care of before we deal with the wants. What is a trade-off you're willing to make to purchase a dream item? So again, just an example of a slide that is in that PowerPoint. Here's an example of a note-taking guide of what that might look like for this lesson. It talks about what does savings prepare us for? What happens if savings aren't available? How much is a person recommended to have in savings and things like that. So as you do your lecture and instruction that is from the PowerPoint that's already made and from the information sheet that's already made, they can participate and keep their attention that way. I'm sure we've all seen a graphic like this at some point or another. This is, again, from a PowerPoint on the site, but a little goes a long way. And again, the principle is by saving early, Sally invested $30,000. So over those first 10 years, she put $3,000 away for 10 years, and she came out with $1,334,000 plus dollars. And Ed, he did not start early. He waited and saved $114,000 and still came out over time behind what Sally was. It is the most powerful concept, in my opinion, that you can teach your students, is the power of time. And I tell them, I'm old now, like I did pretty okay, but the ball is in their court. They're the ones with the time that puts them to having the advantage. And this is just kind of a better shot of that, of what it looks like over time. Now, is it hard for them to come up with $3,000 for 10 years in a row? It is. But is it possible? Is it doable? It really is. It really is. My son bought a jet ski. He's running out. Cha-ching. Like, yes, it's possible. Like, there's a lot of options. So another thing, something that I love, I'm a visual learner, apparently. I'm learning that about myself because of how I teach. Again, we're back to the Easter baskets. But if each one of these, this is a great demo. I think I made a video of this that shows it with a lot more eggs. But if each one of these is a month, right? And if I pretend this is empty, we'll just do this. So if this is my income for a month, okay, I got all my dollars in my pocket, right? If I pay myself first, have any of you read Richest Man in Babylon? So good, 1/10, right? Pay yourself a tenth. So if this is my savings or wherever I want to put my pay myself first money, and if I take that, then this goes to my expenses, right? I'm just gonna keep using this. So that's gone, that money is gone. The next month, same thing, right? I get my income, I pay myself first. Over time, it's just a visual that shows them, eventually you have this nest egg. That's kind of a money term that we talk about in middle school, even high school. What's a nest egg? Like, what even does that mean? Do they know? Do you think your students, would they know what a nest egg is? It's probably a good time to figure out some of that terminology as they're preparing for the financial literacy class, right? So anyway, by the end, and I do this over and over and over to where it's full, and they can see that, oh, if I just do that little bit each time, it will start to accumulate, and then that $3,000 isn't such a challenge to come up with if I'm doing just, even if it's 20 bucks a paycheck that they're stashing away. It is a powerful, powerful concept, because then by the time they are exposed to investing and all of those things, they have something to put into it. The hardest thing is when a kid is like, tell me how to invest. I want to do all this stuff. I'm like, how much money do you have? What are you investing? And I don't have anything. Okay, well, we got to back up and learn how to save and learn how to generate an income and all of those things before you can even start investing. So imagine if in middle school, if when they got birthday money, if they're even putting 10 bucks away. You know, you do that year after year or month after month of babysitting or walking a dog or whatever, and if they can learn to accumulate their money so they can make it grow, they are way ahead, right? So that's just a visual that I really enjoy, and I think it kind of demonstrates that concept of pay yourself first. Any thoughts on that, of how you could use that in your class, or how you would modify it, change it, what would work better?
You can also talk about paying yourself first, like emotionally, physically, financially.
Yes.
So that they learn to take that 10%
Of everything, even their time.
Everything,
Yes.
time or whatever, take that 10%. There's nothing wrong with doing video games, and that's your relaxation. But how much is paying yourself first, and how much,
Yes.
you know, if you have to put all my money in one place, you know.
So powerful, which goes back to needs and wants and values, right? I envision like, what kind of grandma do I want to be? Do I want to be sitting there with an Afghan and knitting, or do I want to be able to run around and move with my kids? I need to be paying that price right now, right? My 10% of like, okay, get up and move your body every day if you want to be able to do that later. It is the exact same concept. Same with budgeting being like a diet. You know what I mean? There's a lot of similarities and a lot of great examples that help us learn these concepts. But I think that's powerful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts with how you might use that? I think anything you can do to demonstrate and actually show them, because they get an egg thing. They might not get pay yourself first or nest egg or whatever. With these new concepts, it really helps to actually see things. Let's back up just a little bit. Can you identify a place during the school year where you would use any of this? Is there a better, this is a thought question for all of us. Like, is there a certain time that any of this would work better? Obviously, if you're looking for Easter baskets and Easter eggs, it's going to be in April, hopefully. Any other thoughts as far as the timing? I can't really think of anything, but if you...
In April, May, you know, when there's no breaks.
Yes.
Because Easter was in March. And
Yeah.
you gotta go that distance,
Yeah,
getting them up and moving and
so good.
changing the day up a little bit.
Very good. And once you have the eggs, you can bring them out in February. They'd be like, oh, what's going on? Something's up, right? Okay. All right, so this is a fun one. Again, we're moving to a different unit. The unit is on spending. In your packet, I think it's the very last page, you have a page that looks like this, and you have a bag of Skittles. So we're going to do this little activity that, again, has to do with budgeting, but also talks about careers and generating income. Okay, so get your Skittles out. And I'll kind of go through this. So this is kind of like your game board. You could have them do this in groups or individually. So what you're going to do is create a spending plan, and your money is your Skittles. So you have to kind of allocate your Skittles to cover all of your areas. The directions on the page are up here as well. Each rectangle is worth one activity marker, which is a Skittle, and the rectangles next to an item must be filled in order to have an item. So if it has two next to it, you have to fill in both to have that thing, right? Housing, clothing, food, and transportation must be accounted for. So do you have one? Does anybody need one?
I love the little stickers on here because this is where they're going to vary, right? Is it?
Yes. So let me talk about the stickers. They're already created, ready to go on here. All you do is put in your labels, just regular address return address labels, and they're ready to go. And you'll notice it says beans. So you got to be choosy with what you use, because if you're planning to use this all day and if somebody eats all the Skittles, you're not going to have anything for fourth hour, right? So beans work really good. There are things that are not really appetizing. My kids, like I used to pay them to fill the, when I did this training all the time, they would count the beans and put them in there. And my daughter, she's turning 24, and she's like, really, you're still counting beans? I'm like, no, we're counting Skittles. So we've moved up, but you're welcome to eat them if you want to. So that's why it says beans, because in a classroom, your Skittles will vanish.
Well, and then you also, like, this one says college degree 16.
Yes.
So you have the people with the different variations
Yes.
then?
Yeah, so that's where the generating an income comes in. So when you talk about careers, which probably would be before this, those who have higher degrees, and we'll raise hands here in a minute. Is everybody done, kind of? We'll let you kind of get them laid out, and then we'll talk about the degree levels. I see some of you have higher degrees, I can tell just by looking.
There's way more Skittles.
Exactly. It's when it gets fun, once they start looking at someone else's card. Okay, looks like we've kind of slowed down. So raise your hand if you had 8 beans. Anybody have 8? 8 beans, what's your education? It says on your sticker on the outside of your sack where your Skittles were. Oh yeah, so, okay, so look on the outside of your Skittle bag.
No high school education.
Okay, so tell me your name.
Dallas.
Dallas has no high school education.
Nope.
So he has 8 Skittles. How did it feel working on your budget?
I'm saving. I'm going cheap. I'm going
Okay.
as cheap as I can. I'm riding the bus. I'm living with relatives. Actually, I splurge in once a week on buying myself a meal.
Oh,
But
live at large.
right.
Live at
Once
large.
a week, we'll go buy a meal.
Nice.
I'm going to ride my bike everywhere. That's fine. And I'm saving 15%, 10%, and 5%.
Oh, pretty
we're
good.
Going, if we're going to be cheap, we're going to be cheap. And we're going to save as long as we can. until-
Nice. So what are the other things that you don't have anything in other? No music,
No, I
no
got a
hair,
bike,
no
man.
hair, no cell phone.
I got a bike and I like being on the trail, so let's go.
And you know what? Here's another thing. As we go through this, think back to the values. I have a mindset that everybody wants to be a millionaire, right? And now and then I have a student come through that's like, what? I don't care.
Yeah, I've
I don't
never
care how
known
much,
that.
like, you know what? I love my bike so much. I'm going to ride it forever.
I'd rather go walk on the trail than watch Netflix anyway.
Exactly. See, and that's totally okay. And I think that's really important for teachers to understand the mindset of like ours, you know, and the assumptions that we have, they don't always translate to our students. Like sometimes they are just totally fine with a very, very simple life. Like they will do anything to not have to go to school ever again. They will ride their bike to not go to school ever again. Like they're just fine with that. And they're very happy with that. So I think that's very, very interesting. Thanks for letting us pick on you. Who has 10? Anybody have 10? What was your education?
High school diploma.
High school, good job. Way to go. My husband always gets so bothered with, he's like, good job, you did the easiest thing there is to do in your life, so good luck moving on. I have a son who just graduated, so anyway.
That's not easy. My son, oh man.
Right, yeah, I have one of those
Last
sons
day,
too.
2 hours left. We got it. We got it. Oh my gosh,
love
that
it.
kid.
I love it. Okay, so what
Sorry.
no, you're good. So what did you have to go without? Any decisions that you were like, oh, I really want that, but I have to not?
Yeah, I have to share a house with someone else.
Yeah, roommates and things. Okay, good example. Anybody have 12? Okay, what was your experience, Tracy?
I did have a lot of other,
What was your degree? Like, what's your
I had
education?
associates.
Associates. Okay, so
But I still didn't have a lot of other. I couldn't do a lot of the, stuff that my students would be going, oh, this is the priority, but because of your rules,
yes,
you have to have
Yes.
this. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And so, I was trying to think like a student.
exactly.
And I was like, oh, my life sucks.
Yes,
I
because
have a place to live.
Yeah, because they're living at home
Yeah.
and getting their nails done,
Exactly.
right? It's like,
Exactly.
they're not like, oh, should I get my nails done or ride my bike?
Yeah.
It's not real
They're not
world
doing
yet.
that yet,
Yeah,
yeah.
they don't really think that way yet.
Thought
Okay,
about it.
perfect, associates. So what were we on, 14? Who has 14? Anybody have 14 Skittles? 16? What was your degree?
College degree.
College degree, okay, so it's getting a little more comfortable with your spending. Anything you had to go without?
I splurged and bought a house because I felt like
Ooh, yes,
build my wealth. But
Yes.
clothing, I decided to just buy clothes at a discount.
and you know what? Some people love doing that. Some people are thrifters and like it would just kill them to have to go to Dillard's or someplace to spend all, I'm one of, not that I'm a thrifter, but sometimes it's like, really, we're spending how much for what? Yeah, good. Okay, so you bought a house, good one. Did you have 16 or 18 as well?
yeah, I had
And did you have any cramps in your style?
You know, not too much. I mean, I'm not getting hair and nails done, but
Uh-huh.
you know, no gym membership, but I got supplies for hobbies and a cell phone and things like
Nice.
that. So it's good.
Nice. Okay, so you can kind of see how the needs and wants come into this. And it's important for them to know if you want this lavish lifestyle with all of these expenditures and all of these high price items, chances are you're going to need some further education. So chances are we maybe should be making a plan for that right now. So it kind of all starts to fit together. And I think that's kind of the fun and the hard thing of the sequencing of a lot of the content in this class. It's like, wait, does this come before this? It's all at once when you enter the real world, right? You've got bills and income and all of these things all at the same time. So how do we process the layering? And that's up to everybody to decide, but I think that's part of the fun of it. So, okay. Any variations of this? You're welcome to eat your Skittles or pack them up or do whatever you want to do with those. Oh, wait, did we have any with 20? Oh, wow. Oh, I see. How did I almost forget this? You have a doctorate degree? Is that what it is?
No, I have a graduate.
Graduate degree. Okay, so did you just put a Skittle on everything? Or how did it go?
I actually had to go without because I did save two.
Oh, good
For
job.
entertainment. So
Good job.
I went without that. And I figured, well, I can take some of that savings up in there.
Yeah, so when you read like The Millionaire Next Door, it's really interesting to see the behaviors of people with a lot of money. They're savers a lot of times, right? They drive trashy cars and things, and that's why they have the money, because they haven't put it on other assets. So, which are liabilities. I'm sorry?
Ask all my students what's the most popular car that millionaires drive.
Ford truck?
Camry.
Oh, that's what I drive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They all drive cheap cars.
yeah. I love my Camry.
Like Warren Buffett still drives the same car.
Yeah.
He's had it since like the 80s or something like that. He does not, he keeps it upkeep, but he doesn't go out and buy lavish vehicles.
Right.
Even though the dude could.
Yeah, many, many, many of them.
Yeah.
But I think that, to watch kids and to see them digest that kind of information, it's like, wait, what? My kids will be like, oh man, look at that boat. I'm like, looks like debt to me, like not to judge, but you don't know if they bought it outright, then that's great. But chances are maybe there's a payment on that boat. And how would you feel when you go to sleep at night with that payment? Everybody, again, it goes back to your wants and needs and values. What are your priorities and your comfort level of spending and things like that. So it's fun. I love this stuff. Okay, any thoughts or suggestions on how you would use this in your classrooms? The spending plan. Would you do Skittles?
That's
Maybe-
kind of a fun way.
I would probably do something to get easy when we're done.
Yeah, it means more baggies, more prep probably for you, if it's not something that you can redo. So just to consider.
I get TAs.
Oh,
And
perfect, keep them busy.
Involving more of the senses at the end. They're going to look at
like
Skittles
some
and
Skittles
remember
will prep.
Yes.
this activity and my cell phone
Well,
tastes like this. or,
yeah, and probably for the rest of their life. Yeah, every time they see a Skittle, they'll be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be buying candy. I don't know. Okay, any modifications that you might make? Again, whatever the treat is that they love or,
Depends on the end classroom size.
yeah, and your budget. I mean, that can get costly if everybody's having their own pack of Skittles, I guess. And any time during the year, really, to me, this would work. I can't think of, I did a fun activity years ago with a Santa situation of gathering money and fundraisers and things for a family in need. So, and the whole thing was about a budget. Like we had to find how much money we had, how many kids and what their needs and wants were, what's important to them, and then disperse the money. And that was kind of fun. So a budgeting activity at Christmas time, when they're trying to buy presents, maybe for friends and family, that might be a good match. The last thing I want to talk about, we end at 3:20, is that right? We're gonna do it. I am not keeping you longer than you have to be here. Is a foldable. Has anybody done foldables before? This is kind of dating me, I feel like. When I got them out, it's like, oh, this is kind of a thing of the past, but I loved them when I did this in class. How did it go for you, Tracy, when you did foldables?
I hadn't done it with
Sweet.
And, but for my math class, my kids call it their Bible.
Oh my gosh.
And I have kids that are out of college that I ran into like in Target the other day, and he's like, Mrs. Anderson, I still have my Bible, and I used it all the way through calculus. And I
That's
was like,
awesome.
It wasn't that cool, man. And I was like, no, it saved me because it had, you had this and this and this. And so then it started me thinking, ooh, how can I do this for
Yeah.
financial lit so that they have something that at the end, here's your Bible.
They take it with
We
them.
talk about, here you go, here's all the stuff you need to know
Yeah.
that you're not gonna remember in 2 weeks.
Exactly,
'Cause you read.
exactly. You might find it under your bed later and then you'll remember those good times. Yeah. When I think of like going to class, and sitting all day, as a student, I think it'd be tough if it's just lecture and, the same kind of thing. But if I walked in and saw some scissors and some glue, I might come to life. And I think that was my experience when I did foldables in class. So you could do it just a one-day thing. Here's a super, super easy one. It's just to, cut it 3/4 of the way, hot dog style, I guess, and then fold it, and it becomes like a little booklet that they can take notes on. You can tell them, how to manage whatever to put on. I found there's a lot of doodlers in this world that like the creativity option. You can make it as restrictive as you want or as open, say here, fill out as a review everything you learned, make sure you have 8 squares, 8 different things that you learned, as a review. It could be that simple. When I did this foldable, it's quite complicated, and I made kind of like a skeleton. I can show you if anybody wants to see. I did bring it. But it looks like this, and they would make a graphic, like any kind of financial literacy graphic. They have a pledge, like their financial pledge. I promise myself to do this, and these are my goals. Actually, here's their goals, right? This was a lesson on financial planning, the steps of financial planning. And I had one of those hole punch things. I just punch a whole bunch of, the squares, and they make it into whatever. So they had to do a research thing, PowerPoint, so they made their slides and then printed them super small and glued them on. This was just a puzzle about SMART goals, time-bound, measurable, whatever, that they would just, they're just writing things on the shapes, and then they had to put the puzzle together to put it on here. So it just makes it a little bit interactive and fun.
So the puzzle pieces, you had them all pre-cut?
So that's what I did. I had kind of like, it's the equivalent of a worksheet, really. Like I would have 4 puzzles on a page and just have them cut, a whole puzzle, give them, and they would cut it up into the pieces and write the things on there. So I had kind of a guide, definitely a guide for this, but you don't have to. I kind of can be controlling, I guess. I don't know if it's, I just wanted it to look as, I wanted everything to fit into this format. So it made it so that, if on Tuesday we did this group juggle activity and on Friday we did the KWL, that once we put it all together, it would fit and, kind of come together. It wasn't like we're going to do this whole thing all in one week. It was like, hey, we're doing a piece of this, put it in your folder. We'll get to the assembly of it all a little bit later. Just some ideas. I had like the KW, you know what that is. Let's see. So it's 2 pieces of 11 by 17 is all it is. And so this is like tracking, it's an envelope so they can put their receipts, they're tracking their spending. Okay, this is a pie chart of their spending. So I don't want to know amounts, I don't want to know personal information. So from their total, what % was on food? What % was on transportation? And then they would make their little spending pie chart. This is values and spending results. I had a worksheet, that they did, and this is just kind of their answers from the worksheet. We had a guest speaker, that's their note cards from the guest speaker. Some were giving presentations as well. This is having a budget more like a straitjacket or a springboard, and why? Just their opinion or thoughts on the spending plan. This again was an activity we did outside, and I wanted 3 takeaways from what they learned from the activity outside. That was a fun one. This is just vocabulary. It's just a half sheet of paper, long ways, that can you see this? It's not a very good demonstration. Anyway, the words are on the outside and the definitions are on the inside. KW, this is what I'm trying to find. They write a letter to themselves, like, dear me, in a year when I open this up, and they put it in this envelope. I actually would keep some of those, at a different time, I would keep the letters and give them to them their senior year, so they could read, like, have I accomplished my financial goals, and where am I, and what's, the next 5 years kind of thing. So this was a really fun option at a time that, like, I was bored, they were going into winter, like, whoa, how are we going to get through this? And it made it fun for me, and I think it livened it up for them as well. So on the website, it is not the same. It's very simple and basic, kind of one-off thing. I put a bunch of those together to make that. You don't have to. Do it any way that you want. So here's an example well, you can see what they are. Just fun different ways to fold. You can search the internet as well and find lots of different options for foldables. So did anybody else have experience with foldables? Ms. Tracy? Is it something you might try? Are you intrigued? I don't know. It can be a lot of work, but I would recommend getting it all together, all at once, and then chunking it, your use. Make all your copies, like make all your puzzle pieces, make all your little cutout things, and then make a lesson based on, each one of those pieces. Or when you plan your lessons, what's a takeaway that they could put into the foldable? Cool. I can't wait to see it. Will you send me pictures?
Yeah, I'm just gonna have them get a composition of it,
Sweet. Yeah.
and we're just gonna do this stuff with the important stuff so that, because I have kids that'll come back years later and say, I finished and I met my goal.
Oh, I love that.
I want them to have that in their book and,
So it's kind of like a smash book.
almost like it'll be like a smash book, but it's done for foldables and.
Yeah. Little pieces in there.
Yeah,
Cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I do want to know how it goes.
I'll let you know.
On the web, yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a different semester, I'm sure, than what you've had. On the website also, just so you know, there's foldable rubrics and things, as, again, a starting point that you can go in and edit if you want to, but a lot of that thought process and hard stuff is done for you. So any changes or any things rolling in your mind of how you might use foldables or variations? Again, it's not going to be for everybody, but I had some people who were normally not real engaged, like to see them up, like getting puzzle pieces and cutting things out, like, wow. It was, it works for a lot of them. Just a different mode, something different in class. Any other thoughts? I'll put all the questions up there. Modifications. I think colored paper helps. They don't have to. I guess they could color things and draw, different colored markers might be fun
But
enough.
sometimes just having colored pencils, but they've also have proven that when kids color as they're going through, it does different parts of their brains. So
That's
switching it up
true.
and having some foldables and having some that are color and having some that are fill in the blank or
Yeah.
whatever, so that you're not doing a foldable every time
Yeah.
because then they
It
get
gets old.
tired of it.
Yes, for sure.
But when you have just something different than taking the notes.
I love that. And another thing I love about the Smash book I did, and I kind of did it here, I always had my kids writing, like process, like, okay, here's what she said. What does it mean for me? How am I going to apply that? What are my next steps to make that real in my life? And what's my opinion of it? Like, this is totally a side note, but I have a book project in my class right now where they read a book like Richest Man in Babylon or Rich Dad, Poor Dad, whatever, and they do the classwork and they hear from me and all the things. But in this book project, they have to talk about what they read with two other people. They have to make a graphic organizer. They have to summarize their application of what does it mean. So the expert says this, but my mom says this, but the class says this, and Daily says this. What does it mean for me? What is my personal financial philosophy? And I think that's where the power comes because they are just empowered. They realize that, wait a minute, if I only spend or save, $10, $15 a week over time, this can be the result. And it's really, really empowering for them. And I think that's where my excitement comes because it can change lives. And you guys are doing great work. And I'm so excited for you to just spend some time on this website and investigate and see all the things that are done for you and the things that you can springboard from to apply into your classes. So, yeah.
The foldables.
Yeah.
Are you doing like one foldable for the whole semester of content?
No, I'm having them do, I have certain units, and I'm gonna do a smash book with a composition. And then I have unit pages, and so like when we talk about values, wants, needs, and goals, we'll have the definitions and things there for them to write in their book. But if we do the fly swatter game, then I'll have them write in there something that they took away from, or maybe something that they thought was a need, but is really a want. Now that and then I have them do the foldable stuff, for some of the things. I'm working on that part right now, I'm tweaking that. But my students, the one thing that they've said is, we don't like the notes, we don't like your notes. And so I thought, well, if I switch it up and see, and then the other thing, when I ran into him in Target, I was like, why am I not doing this for financial literacy like I used to do for math?
So fun.
And
I
so,
think they do want to be actively engaged.
yeah,
I think they do.
Just stand up there and tell them all this stuff.
See,
I don't want
Yeah.
I don't wanna do that.
I think they're hungry for it. Like, I think if we're up for it and willing to give it, I think they thrive on that.
Even my high they
Yeah.
heat it up.
Yeah. And somebody asked me at my table, like, really, kids, did I already say that? They're like, really? Isn't this an elementary thing? I'm like, think what you want, but until you try, like, you don't know. And it might not be for every class. You'll have a vibe. You know your kids. You're like, oh, second hour, no way. They're a mess. But fourth hour, maybe could handle it. Then maybe just start with one class. Maybe just start with one unit. You know, before you say, oh, we're doing this all semester, just start with a lesson. See how it goes. If they're like, this is dumb, then maybe reconsider. But, you know, until you try a few different things, who knows? It could be a new fun thing for you. So anyway, contact information is on the slides. You can reach out to me anytime. I do have some fly swatter games. Does anybody want these first ones to raise your hands? Fly swatters, okay. 1, 2. Okay, sweet. And thank you so much for coming, you guys. I really appreciate it. I thought I might be here by myself. And Tracy, I can get you some fly swatters.
Oh, don't worry.
Are you sure?
No, yeah, I wrote it down.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, if you need some.
I wrote it down.